It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Napoleon Bonaparte, they tell you vulnerability is strength, that exposing your weaknesses builds trust. They say to lay bare your needs to seek help openly. This is a lie, a carefully constructed deception designed to disarm you. The truth is this: control needs disclosure. The more you reveal, the more vulnerable you become. The more vulnerable, the more easily manipulated. Observe the predator in the wild. Does it announce its hunger? Does it display its injuries? No. It conceals, it observes, it waits for the opportune moment to strike. Your needs are ammunition, your fears are leverage, and in the wrong hands they will be used against you. The world is not a therapy session, it is a battlefield, and on the battlefield information is power. Keep your counsel, guard your vulnerabilities, let them underestimate you, let them believe you are weak, for in their ignorance lies your advantage. The competent individual understands the asymmetry of information. They know that revealing your hand weakens it. They understand that true strength lies not in emotional exhibitionism but in calculated silence. Seek counsel from those who have earned your trust. Disclose nothing to your rivals. Appear self-sufficient. Project an aura of impenetrable resolve. This is not about deceit. It is about survival. It is about protecting yourself in a world where few have your best interests at heart. Remember, the more they know, the more they control. And control is the ultimate prize. Let others chase fleeting validation through performative vulnerability. You will build lasting power through disciplined self-possession. Every admission is a crack in your armor. Every expressed need is a potential weapon in the hands of your enemies. Do not confuse authenticity with recklessness. True authenticity lies in aligning your actions with your values, not in broadcasting your insecurities to the world. The wise man cultivates an inner fortress, impenetrable to the manipulations of others. He reveals only what is necessary and only to those who have proven themselves worthy of his trust. So discard the naive notion that vulnerability is a virtue. Embrace the strategic advantage of guarded self-disclosure. Control the flow of information. Control the narrative. Control your destiny. The world rewards strength, not sentimentality. Prepare accordingly. The cost of weakness is exploitation. The reward for calculated discretion is autonomy. Choose wisely. The need for control stems from a fundamental human desire for predictability in a chaotic world. We crave the illusion of agency, the feeling that we can influence our surroundings and shape our own destinies. Disclosing needs, however, introduces an element of vulnerability that directly contradicts this desire. Each expressed dependency becomes a potential lever for manipulation, a weakness that can be exploited by those seeking to exert their own control. Consider the power dynamics at play in any negotiation. The party that reveals their urgent need for a deal immediately cedes ground to their opponent. They have signaled their desperation, their willingness to compromise, and in doing so, have diminished their leverage. Similarly, in personal relationships, the constant expression of insecurities and needs can create an imbalance of power. One partner becomes the perpetual caregiver, while the other assumes the role of the dependent. This dynamic, while seemingly comforting in the short term, can erode respect and breed resentment over time. The act of revealing a need is essentially an admission of incompleteness, a declaration that one is not entirely self-sufficient. This perception can be particularly damaging in competitive environments, where perceived weakness is often met with opportunistic aggression. Predators, both literal and metaphorical, seek out the vulnerable, those who appear incapable of protecting themselves. Therefore, the disciplined withholding of information about one's needs is not merely a strategic tactic, but a fundamental act of self-preservation. It is a way of maintaining control over one's own image, of projecting an aura of competence and resilience that deters potential adversaries. Think of a poker player carefully concealing their hand, betraying no emotion, revealing no tell. They understand that the moment they betray their nervousness or their excitement, they give their opponents an advantage. Life, in many ways, is a similar game. The ability to control the information you disseminate is crucial to maintaining your position and achieving your goals. This does not advocate for a life devoid of genuine connection or intimacy. Rather, it emphasizes the importance of discerning who is truly worthy of your trust and tailoring your disclosures accordingly. Share your vulnerabilities with those who have proven themselves to be reliable allies, those who will offer support without seeking to exploit your weaknesses. But remain guarded with those whose motives are suspect, those who might use your vulnerabilities against you. The key is to cultivate a sense of self-reliance, an inner strength that allows you to weather challenges without constantly seeking external validation or assistance. This requires a degree of self-awareness, an understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses, and a commitment to addressing your vulnerabilities without broadcasting them to the world. The pursuit of self-mastery is a lifelong endeavor, a continuous process of self-improvement and refinement. As you become more competent and self-sufficient, your need for external validation will diminish, and your ability to control your own destiny will increase. The more you rely on yourself, the less vulnerable you become to the machinations of others. This is not about becoming a cold, heartless automaton. It is about developing the emotional intelligence to navigate the complexities of human interaction with wisdom and discernment. It is about understanding that true strength lies not in revealing everything, but in selectively sharing only what is necessary to those who have earned the right to know. Control needs disclosure as the master needs the servant. It directs it, shapes it, harnesses its power for a specific purpose. Let your disclosures serve your purpose, not dictate it. Consider the case of a high-stakes poker game. Each player holds information, their cards, their betting strategy, their perceived weaknesses and strengths. The novice, eager to impress, might reveal too much, boasting about a lucky streak or lamenting a previous loss. This uncontrolled disclosure becomes a weapon in the hands of a skilled opponent who can exploit the novice's insecurity and manipulate their decisions. The seasoned player, on the other hand, understands the power of controlled disclosure. They reveal only what is necessary to achieve their objectives, perhaps feigning weakness to lure an opponent into a trap, or projecting confidence to intimidate them into folding. They understand that every piece of information shared is a calculated risk, a strategic maneuver in a larger game of deception and control. Observe the subtle tells, a twitch of the eye, a slight hesitation in the voice, a nervous fidget with the chips. These involuntary disclosures betray the player's true emotions and intentions, offering valuable insights to those who are observant enough to notice. The master of the game learns to mask these tells, to maintain a poker face that reveals nothing, or even better, projects a carefully crafted illusion. They understand that perception is reality, and that controlling the perception of others is essential to controlling the outcome of the game. The game is not merely about the cards themselves, but about the manipulation of information, the subtle art of deception, and the psychological warfare that unfolds around the table. Every bet, every raise, every fold is a calculated act, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to influence the decisions of the other players. The skilled player understands the importance of maintaining composure, of controlling their emotions and projecting an image of unwavering confidence, even when faced with adversity. They understand that weakness is a liability, and that any sign of vulnerability will be exploited by their opponents. Therefore, they cultivate a sense of detachment, an ability to distance themselves from the emotional turmoil of the game, and to make rational decisions based on logic and strategy. They are masters of self-control, able to suppress their impulses and to resist the temptations of greed or fear. They understand that patience is a virtue, and that waiting for the right opportunity is often more advantageous than forcing the issue. They are always assessing the situation, analyzing the behavior of their opponents, and adjusting their strategy accordingly. They are adaptable, resourceful, and relentless in their pursuit of victory. Consider, then, how this translates beyond the felt of a poker table. The crucial error lies in believing that transparency equates to strength. The naive player assumes that honesty and openness will foster trust and cooperation. They believe that by revealing their intentions and vulnerabilities, They will somehow disarm their opponents and create a level playing field. This is a dangerous delusion. In reality, such disclosure is an invitation to exploitation. It provides adversaries with valuable information, allowing them to anticipate your moves, identify your weaknesses, and manipulate your behavior. Imagine a general revealing his battle plans to the enemy. Imagine a CEO disclosing his company's strategic weaknesses to a competitor. Imagine a chess player announcing his next 5 moves in advance. The result would be catastrophic. Yet, individuals make similar blunders in their daily interactions, unknowingly undermining their own positions. They speak carelessly, divulging personal information to casual acquaintances, sharing their hopes and fears with those who have no genuine interest in their well-being. They operate under the misguided assumption that everyone is inherently trustworthy and well-intentioned. This is a fatal flaw in a world where deception and self-interest are often the dominant forces. The skilled operator understands that information is a weapon and that the control of information is a source of power. They are careful about what they reveal, selectively disclosing only what serves their interests and concealing anything that could be used against them. They understand the importance of maintaining a degree of mystery, of keeping their true intentions hidden beneath a veil of ambiguity. This allows them to observe and assess the situation without prematurely exposing their hand. It creates an element of uncertainty, forcing their opponents to make assumptions and take risks based on incomplete information. The naive, however, are eager to share. They mistake superficial charm for genuine connection, and they are easily manipulated by flattery and false displays of empathy. They are drawn to those who seem to offer validation and acceptance, and they are willing to overlook warning signs in their desperate need for social approval. This makes them easy targets for those who are skilled at exploiting their vulnerabilities. The predatory individual will feign interest in their problems, eliciting personal information through carefully crafted questions and active listening. They will then use this information to gain leverage, manipulating their emotions and controlling their behavior. The trap is sprung when the naive individual feels obligated to reciprocate, disclosing even more personal details in an attempt to deepen the connection. This creates a cycle of vulnerability, as each revelation further weakens their position and strengthens the control of the manipulator. True strength is not found in indiscriminate disclosure, but in discerning silence. It is in the ability to observe, analyze, and strategize without revealing your intentions to the world. It is in the cultivation of self-awareness, the recognition of your own vulnerabilities, and the development of strategies to protect yourself from exploitation. The world is a complex and often unforgiving place, and survival depends on understanding the dynamics of power and influence. Those who fail to recognize these dynamics are destined to be pawns in the games of others. The Machiavellian approach dictates a calculated reservation in revealing one's true self. It understands that every disclosed detail is a potential weapon in the hands of an adversary. To maintain control, one must carefully curate the information they present to the world, revealing only what serves their strategic objectives. This is not about deceit, but about protecting oneself from those who would seek to exploit vulnerability. Imagine a game of chess. Would a player announce their every move in advance? Would they reveal their long-term strategy to their opponent? Of course not. Similarly, in the game of life, discretion is paramount. The Machiavellian strategist understands that information is power, and they hoard it carefully. They observe the behavior of others, analyzing their motivations and weaknesses, while revealing as little as possible about their own. This allows them to maintain the upper hand, anticipating their opponent's moves and countering them effectively. Consider the seasoned poker player. Their face remains impassive, their body language controlled, revealing nothing about the strength of their hand. They understand that any flicker of emotion, can be exploited by their opponents. Similarly, the Machiavellian individual cultivates a sense of inner composure, remaining calm and collected even in the face of adversity. They do not allow their emotions to betray them, understanding that vulnerability is an invitation to attack. This is not to say that they are devoid of emotion, but rather that they have learned to master their feelings, using them as a tool rather than being controlled by them. The Machiavellian approach also recognizes the importance of building alliances, but it does so with a cold and calculating eye. Alliances are formed not out of genuine affection or loyalty, but out of mutual self-interest. Each party benefits from the arrangement, and the alliance is maintained only as long as it remains advantageous. When the balance of power shifts, or when one party becomes a liability, the alliance is dissolved without sentimentality. This may seem ruthless, but it is simply a pragmatic recognition of the realities of power. In a world where everyone is looking out for their own interests, it is foolish to rely on the goodwill of others. The Machiavellian individual understands that they must be their own advocate, their own protector, and that they must always be prepared to act in their own self-defense. This does not mean that they are inherently selfish or malicious, but rather that they are realistic about the nature of human behavior. They understand that trust is a rare and precious commodity, and that it should be earned, not given freely. They are wary of those who offer friendship or assistance without expecting anything in return, recognizing that there is often a hidden agenda at play. The Machiavellian strategist is always thinking several steps ahead, anticipating the consequences of their actions and planning accordingly. They are not impulsive or reckless, but rather deliberate and methodical. They understand that success is not achieved through luck or chance, but through careful planning, strategic execution, and relentless self-discipline. They are willing to make sacrifices in the short term to achieve their long-term goals, and they are not afraid to take risks when necessary. However, they always weigh the potential rewards against the potential costs, and they never gamble recklessly. They are masters of persuasion, able to influence the opinions and behaviors of others through a combination of logic, emotion, and manipulation. They understand that people are often driven by their emotions rather than their reason, and they are skilled at appealing to their desires, fears, and insecurities. They are able to frame their arguments in a way that resonates with their audience, and they are not afraid to use flattery, threats, or deception to achieve their objectives. However, they are also aware of the dangers of overplaying their hand, and they know when to back down or compromise. The Machiavellian individual is a student of human nature, constantly observing and analyzing the behavior of those around them. They are able to read people quickly and accurately, identifying their strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. They are skilled at detecting deception, and they are not easily fooled by flattery or false pretenses. They understand that people are often motivated by hidden agendas, and they are always on guard against those who would seek to exploit them. The ability to control the narrative, to shape the perceptions of others, is a crucial element of the Machiavellian strategy. This involves carefully crafting one's public image, presenting oneself in a way that is both appealing and intimidating. It also involves controlling the flow of information, ensuring that only the desired message reaches the intended audience. This can be achieved through various means, including propaganda, misinformation, and censorship. The goal is to create a reality that serves one's own interests, even if it means distorting or concealing the truth. The Machiavellian strategist understands that perception is often more important than reality, and that those who control the narrative control the world. They are adept at manipulating the media, using it to promote their own agenda and to discredit their enemies. They are also skilled at managing their own reputation, ensuring that they are perceived as competent, trustworthy, and powerful. This may involve engaging in public relations campaigns, cultivating relationships with influential figures, and even engaging in acts of charity or philanthropy. The key is to create a positive image that overshadows any negative aspects of their character or behavior. The Machiavellian approach is not about being liked or admired, but about being respected and feared. It is about wielding power effectively, achieving one's goals regardless of the consequences. It is a philosophy of survival, a guide to navigating the treacherous waters of human interaction. It is not for the faint of heart, but for those who are willing to embrace the darker aspects of human nature and to use them to their advantage. Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen based on their ability to control not only resources and territory, but also the dissemination of information. Consider the Roman Empire, a master of engineering, law, and military strategy. Its power extended far beyond its legions. It resided in its sophisticated propaganda machine. The Pax Romana, the era of relative peace and prosperity, was as much a product of military might as it was of carefully crafted narratives. Emperors like Augustus understood the importance of shaping public opinion. They commissioned grand monuments, sponsored public games, and disseminated carefully curated accounts of their victories, all to reinforce the image of Roman invincibility and benevolent rule. This control extended to the suppression of dissent. While Rome tolerated a degree of religious and cultural diversity, it ruthlessly crushed any opposition that threatened its authority. Critics were silenced, their voices drowned out by the chorus of imperial propaganda. The message was clear: Rome offered stability and order, and any challenge to that order would be met with swift and decisive force. This carefully managed narrative allowed the empire to maintain control over vast territories and diverse populations for centuries. However, the cracks in this edifice of control eventually began to appear. As the empire grew, it became increasingly difficult to maintain a unified narrative. Regional differences, economic disparities, and the rise of new religious movements created fractures within the empire's social fabric. The spread of Christianity, in particular, posed a significant challenge to Roman authority. Its message of universal love and equality directly contradicted the hierarchical structure of Roman society, and its followers refused to worship the emperor as a god. The Roman authorities initially responded with persecution, but this only served to strengthen the Christian movement. Eventually, the empire was forced to adapt, and Christianity was eventually adopted as the state religion. This was a strategic move, aimed at co-opting the growing power of the church and integrating it into the imperial structure. However, it also marked a significant shift in the balance of power. The empire was no longer able to completely control the narrative, and the rise of Christianity contributed to its eventual decline. The history of warfare offers further illustrations of the critical link between control and disclosure. Throughout the ages, military leaders have understood that victory depends not only on superior firepower, but also on controlling the flow of information. Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, emphasized the importance of deception. He advocated for creating a false image of weakness to lure the enemy into a trap, and for concealing one's own strengths to maintain the element of surprise. This strategic manipulation of information is essential for gaining a tactical advantage. In modern warfare, the control of information has become even more critical. Governments use propaganda to rally public support for military action, to demonize the enemy, and to justify the sacrifices required by war. The media plays a crucial role in shaping public perception of conflict, and governments often attempt to control the information that is released to the press. This can involve censorship, the dissemination of misinformation, and the manipulation of images and narratives. The goal is to create a favorable public opinion, both at home and abroad, and to undermine the enemy's morale. However, the control of information in wartime is a complex and often contradictory process. Governments must balance the need to maintain secrecy with the need to inform the public. Too much secrecy can lead to mistrust and suspicion, while too much disclosure can jeopardize military operations. The challenge is to find the right balance, to control the narrative without completely suppressing the truth. The Vietnam War provides a stark example of the consequences of losing control of the narrative. The U.S. government initially attempted to portray the war as a noble effort to defend democracy against communism. However, as the war dragged on and the casualties mounted, the public began to question the official narrative. The media played a crucial role in exposing the discrepancies between the government's claims and the reality on the ground. The release of the Pentagon Papers, a classified study of the war, further eroded public trust. As a result, the anti-war movement gained momentum, and the U.S. government eventually withdrew from Vietnam in defeat. This demonstrated that even the most powerful military force can be defeated if it loses control of the narrative. The lesson is clear. Control needs disclosure, but disclosure must be carefully managed. The manipulation of perception is a constant struggle, a tug-of-war between those who seek to control the narrative and those who seek to reveal the truth. The Machiavellian strategist understands this dynamic and seeks to exploit it to their advantage. They are adept at controlling the flow of information, using it to shape public opinion and to achieve their goals. They are also aware of the risks of excessive control and the importance of maintaining a degree of transparency. The key is to find the right balance, to control the narrative without completely suppressing the truth, ensuring that the desired image is presented to the world. This requires a deep understanding of human psychology, a keen awareness of the political landscape, and a willingness to use any means necessary to achieve one's objectives. The Machiavellian approach is not about being ethical or moral, but about being effective. It is about wielding power and achieving one's goals, regardless of the consequences. It is a philosophy of survival, a guide to navigating the treacherous waters of human interaction, applicable to empires and individuals alike. Control, therefore, is not merely about the suppression of information, but its carefully calibrated release. Think of a pressure cooker. Too much steam and it explodes. Too little and the food remains uncooked. The same principle applies to managing public perception. A complete information blackout breeds suspicion and fuels conspiracy theories, often more damaging than the truth itself. The adept manipulator understands this paradox. Transparency, strategically employed, can be a powerful tool of control. Consider the carefully orchestrated leak, the controlled admission of minor errors to deflect attention from larger transgressions. This is not honesty, but a calculated maneuver to maintain credibility and prevent a catastrophic loss of trust. Imagine a politician admitting to a minor tax oversight while simultaneously concealing a far more significant financial scandal. The minor disclosure serves as a smokescreen, diverting attention from the real crime and reinforcing the perception of honesty and accountability. This is the art of deceptive transparency, the weaponization of disclosure. The goal is not to inform, but to control the narrative, to shape the audience's perception of reality. Such control extends to the realm of personal relationships as well. The withholding of affection, the calculated expression of vulnerability, these are all techniques used to manipulate emotions and maintain dominance. Consider the emotionally unavailable partner who sporadically offers glimpses of genuine connection, creating a powerful addiction in the other person. This intermittent reinforcement, like the gambler's near miss, keeps the victim hooked, constantly seeking validation and affection that is rarely fully delivered. The power dynamic is clear. The emotionally unavailable partner controls the relationship by controlling the flow of affection. This is not love, but a calculated strategy to maintain control and avoid genuine intimacy. Similarly, in business negotiations, the controlled release of information can be a decisive advantage. Revealing one's weaknesses, while seemingly counterintuitive, can disarm the opponent and create a false sense of security. Imagine a CEO admitting to a temporary dip in profits, while simultaneously concealing the company's impending acquisition of a major competitor. The disclosure of the minor setback masks the strategic advantage, allowing the CEO to negotiate from a position of strength while appearing vulnerable. This is the art of strategic deception, the use of transparency as a tool of manipulation. The underlying principle is the same. Control needs disclosure, but disclosure must be carefully managed. It is a delicate dance between revealing and concealing, a constant assessment of risk and reward. The Machiavellian strategist understands that information is power, and that the control of information is the ultimate weapon. This extends beyond mere information to the management of expectations. By carefully shaping what others anticipate, it becomes possible to control their reactions and behaviors. The art of the deal, for instance, often hinges on inflating expectations and then gradually lowering them, creating the perception of a concession even when none has been made. The skilled negotiator will set an absurdly high initial price, knowing that the eventual settlement will seem more reasonable in comparison. This is not about fairness or value, but about manipulating perception and controlling the outcome. The same principle applies to leadership. A charismatic leader can inspire loyalty and obedience by carefully managing expectations, promising a glorious future while simultaneously demanding sacrifice and discipline. The leader's vision, even if unrealistic, becomes a powerful tool of control, motivating followers to act in accordance with their leader's will. This is the power of narrative, the ability to shape reality through the manipulation of perception. In the realm of espionage and intelligence, control through disclosure is paramount. The use of double agents, the dissemination of disinformation, these are all techniques designed to mislead the enemy and gain a strategic advantage. The double agent, seemingly loyal to one side, secretly works for the other, feeding the enemy carefully curated information designed to sow discord and undermine their operations. This is the ultimate act of deception, the betrayal of trust for the sake of control. The manipulation of perception, therefore, is not limited to governments and corporations. It is a fundamental aspect of human interaction, present in every relationship, every negotiation, every power dynamic. The Machiavellian strategist understands this reality and seeks to exploit it to their advantage. They are masters of deception, adept at controlling the flow of information and shaping the perceptions of others. They are not concerned with ethics or morality, but with effectiveness. Their goal is to achieve their objectives, regardless of the consequences. This is not a philosophy for the faint of heart, but a ruthless guide to navigating the treacherous waters of human interaction. It requires a deep understanding of human psychology, a keen awareness of the political landscape, and a willingness to use any means necessary to achieve one's goals. The control of disclosure is the control of perception, and the control of perception is the control of reality. To wield this power is to wield influence itself. The individual who grasps the principle of controlled disclosure understands that information is not a neutral commodity. It is a weapon, a tool, a means of shaping reality. The careless release of information is akin to handing a loaded weapon to an adversary, an act of self-sabotage that can have devastating consequences. Consider the executive who reveals his company's strategic plans to a competitor, the politician who divulges sensitive information to the media, the individual who overshares their vulnerabilities to an untrustworthy confidant. These are all examples of uncontrolled disclosure, acts of folly that can lead to ruin. The disciplined strategist, on the other hand, understands the importance of carefully curating the information they release, revealing only what serves their interests and concealing what could be used against them. They are masters of deception, adept at manipulating the flow of information to create a desired perception. They understand that perception is reality, and that by controlling the flow of information, they can control the reality of others. This is not merely about lying or withholding information, but about strategically shaping the narrative to achieve a desired outcome. It is about understanding the psychology of the audience, anticipating their reactions, and crafting a message that resonates with their biases and beliefs. The use of carefully crafted statements, leaks to the press, and calculated displays of emotion can all be used to manipulate public opinion and advance one's agenda. The ability to control the narrative is a critical skill for anyone seeking to exert influence in any domain, from politics and business to personal relationships. Those who master this skill are able to shape the world around them, bending reality to their will. The alternative is to be controlled by the narratives of others, to be a pawn in their games, a victim of their manipulations. The stakes are high, and the consequences of failure can be severe. Understand this and act accordingly. Consider the chess master who sacrifices a pawn to gain a strategic advantage. The pawn, seemingly a valuable piece, is willingly offered up to the opponent, creating the illusion of weakness. However, this sacrifice is carefully calculated, designed to lure the opponent into a trap, to open up new lines of attack, to ultimately achieve checkmate. This is the essence of controlled disclosure, the willingness to reveal seemingly damaging information in order to achieve a greater objective. The politician who admits to a minor indiscretion in order to deflect attention from a more serious scandal. The negotiator who concedes a small point in order to gain a significant concession. The individual who shares a personal vulnerability in order to build trust and rapport. These are all examples of strategic disclosure, calculated risks designed to achieve a desired outcome. The key is to understand the potential consequences of each disclosure, to weigh the risks against the rewards, and to act with deliberate intention. The uncontrolled release of information is a sign of weakness, a lack of discipline, a failure to understand the power of perception. The controlled disclosure of information, on the other hand, is a sign of strength, a mastery of strategy, a willingness to manipulate reality to achieve one's goals. It is the mark of a Machiavellian strategist, a ruthless pragmatist who understands that the world is a game of power, and that those who control the flow of information are the ones who ultimately prevail. Therefore, let silence be your fortress.